Ugh. I can't sleep. I hate it. Every time I need to transit from point A to point B, I can't sleep the night before. It's been like this for years. When I was living in Germany and basically Europe, and I had to, and I needed to catch the train the next day, I would worry all night long about, missing the train. And I couldn't sleep. I hate this shit. My brain just will not turn off. I try to be like casual and okay, everything's groovy. Bullshit. Which is prelude to telling you, I'm out of here. So by the time you see this, I will be about 70 miles that way. I can't hang. I can't hang in here. I could, I basically stay here for another, lifetime, because they're basically not kicking me out and nobody fucking cares. But the reason I'm leaving, this. That I-10 shit is not working for me anymore. What am I talking about? Listen carefully. Do you hear that? That, right there. That's I-10. Oy! I've had enough fun and excitement for one day. All night long. It's quiet now. It wasn't like, 20 minutes ago. And coming directly from Ehrenberg, where the only thing I heard at night was the wind, which was a dream. Yeah, not so much of that. So, let's see. Let me back up a little bit. Amelia's Stories is 98% done, although I'm not happy with the tone, the way that the script has come out, so I may go back and rewrite a little bit, because it's not as close to the source material as I'd like it to be, and the source material is in my head. I keep going back to the man I remember as my grandfather, who is, as you may know by now, not my grandfather, but he's the grandfather I'm glad that I had. There are so many stories that I'd love to relate to just about my grandfather, and remembering that man and what he did and how he was. He was a good man. I miss him. I miss him. He used to make breakfast every morning. He'd make breakfast for her and make breakfast for him and make breakfast for anybody that wanted. But he'd go all out on Sunday mornings. Sundays were big in my grandmother's house. But on Sunday mornings, he'd make breakfast and she'd make dinner. But his potatoes and onions were famous in my house, in their house. Bacon, sausage, potatoes, and onions. He taught me his recipe of potatoes and onions is what I make. When I make potatoes and onions, it's his way of making them. My mother taught me how to cook when I was 5. I'm not kidding. She taught me how to cook when I was 5. And then when I moved into my grandmother's house, and he made potatoes and onions, I thought the potatoes and onions, the way that I was making them, had come from my mother. Nope. It's my grandfather's. So you get a seasoned iron skillet, and it's important that it's seasoned. And you don't wash it in any way, shape, or form. You let the oil seep into the iron part. He had the skillet on the on the stove that was basically filled with grease, and he'd dump out the grease that he didn't want and add a little bit more back in and start his potatoes and onions. So you'd put down a layer of, seasoning, oil, grease. That's pork fat and beef fat and all sorts of fats, and leftover seasonings from other meals. But you never wash the damn thing. And layer of onion, layer of potato, layer of onion, layer of potato, literally, so it fills the pan. And he'd season each layer with pepper and salt, and that's it. And then he'd cover it, and he'd let it sit for 40 minutes, and it's crackling and frying. Every once in a while, he'd come over, he'd stir it, and flip the potatoes so that they all got down to the bottom. And by the time you're done, you end up with this crispy goodness, goldenness, and dark brownness, like mess. You're thinking, that can't possibly be tasty. Oh my fucking God. Oh my God. I miss him. I think about those potatoes and onions, and I miss my grandfather. He was the bridge to my grandmother. He used to watch soap operas just so that he could talk to my grandmother, just so that they could talk. I would sit and watch soap operas with him. That's how I got to watch soap operas with my grandmother, because that was the key to talking to my grandmother. And I pay attention to my grandfather. I'd say, Grandpa, why do you watch this stuff? He says, I don't watch this stuff. I said, but you know all the characters, and you know all the plot lines. He says, I just do that so I can talk to your grandmother. He loved her. That's what I'm trying to, when I'm writing about him, that's what I'm trying to preserve, is the man that I knew. My mother said that he was charming, and I never realized just how charming it was until I was in his presence. And he never said anything about, well, that's not true. He does. He did actually talk to me about my mother a couple of times. More than a few times, actually. He told me a few stories. He was actually the one that filled me in about some of the story of my mother's escapade to meeting Billie Holiday. And then I never heard the story from my mother. But I did hear it from Sylvia, and I did hear it from my grandmother. But it was actually my grandfather that turned me on to the story. But he told me a few tales. Let's put it that way. He told me a few tales. Anyways, I'm trying to write what I know about my grandfather in this stuff. That he was a very charming man and a good guy. And it's hard to write about him and not miss him. Alrighty, kitties, that's enough meandering down memory lane. Thanks a bunch for watching. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Oh, before I let you go, thanks to Mark at Falcon Internet. Mark, you're the bomb, baby. Alright, now I'm going to let you go. Have yourselves a great day. Bye.